So, after my first week in Clair Obscur, I think I'm starting to understand what this game is asking of me. Early in the week I went back and finally beat the Chromatic Lancia. It was one of those fights I really knew was beatable. I just needed to slow down and stop forcing it. That win gave me a real boost of confidence, proving to myself that persistence does pay off. It made taking on my first proper boss at the Indigo Tree, Avec, so much more manageable and eventually reaching the Flying Waters while searching for my L. Honestly, the Flying Waters might be one of the most striking areas I've seen so far. The environments are stunning and the enemy designs are incredible. The music continues to absolutely be the driving force in this game. It's one of those soundtracks that makes you want to stop and listen. Some of the tracks during combat is so good. I'm glad the fighting is turn-based. I'd sit there in moments and just be lost in the music. Mechanically, I'm still trying to get to grips with the dodge and parry system. It's very much become a learning by failure kind of combat. Sometimes you need to take a few hits just to understand the enemy's rhythm before things start to click. I can feel the progress happening even when it's messy. Story-wise, I love the small moment where Gustav started to question the cause, only for Luna to shut it down with the blunt "we continue." It hits so hard because it was exactly what Gustav needed in that moment. Their reason, their purpose, even in the likelihood of failure. There was some frustration this week too, mostly around the systems I hadn't yet been taught. However, by the end of the week I found out it was just a progression in the story as to why I didn't yet understand. Weapons upgrades, materials, chroma, all of that stuff. I kept catching myself wanting to just look up a guide, and then stopping myself because part of playing games is letting yourself get lost. It's strange how conditioned as players we've become to immediately run to YouTube for help or some form of guide, rather than exploring and trying different approaches to meet our goal. Midweek, things really started to open up. We finally found Mael recovering in the manor after being ambushed on the beach. We met the curator, which is somehow both silent, faceless, and immediately unsettling. Mael introduced us to Noko, one of the gestural merchants. He is amazing. He's so cool and charismatic. I was showing my wife a couple of things in the game and I showed her Noko and she found him brilliant. I love that you can fight the gesturals for better rewards. It's such a clever design idea. IL's combat system is great. Her stance switching between offense, defense and virtuous adds a lot of tactical flexibility, especially when shielding the party. This was also the first session where parrying, dodging and the jump systems started to feel more natural instead of absolute chaos. Boss fights began to feel more manageable, which was a nice boost of confidence. Visually the game just keeps getting better and better. From the golden manor to the calm underwater spaces, it feels endlessly inventive. And again, the music. Honestly, I can just sit in these battle themes. The last games I felt like this were the Death Stranding series, but they don't compare to this. I will listen to a few songs from the Death Stranding series combined. I know I'll be going back to this. All of this. By the end of the week though, the game reminded me not to get too comfortable. When reaching the final area of the Flying Waters, I accidentally found Goblu, the final boss of the area. Surprisingly, I beat it soundly, so I decided to go back and search the final area. In doing so, I ran headfirst into a chromatic troubadour. That was 45 minutes, one fight, and repeatedly getting my ass handed to me. After beating Goblu, it was one of those moments where you think you're finally starting to get good, and the game politely tells you, sit back down. I was tired that night, and I know that's not an excuse. The fight definitely tested my patience. But interestingly, I never got angry. Just like with the Chromatic Lancia, even while getting smashed, the combat loop kept me engaged enough that I wanted to keep trying, rather than walking away or turning the game off. And that says a lot for how good the core gameplay is. So overall, this week felt like progress with a slight beating. I'm learning the system slowly, the story is pulling me in, and the game keeps balancing encouragement with brutal reality checks. And honestly, we continue.